Most people don't lose opportunities because they lack talent. They lose them because of something far more fragile: their reputation. One mistake, one rumor, one bad impression, and suddenly doors that were once wide open start closing, quietly and permanently. And the worst part is, you often don't even realize it's happening until it's too late. There was a young executive, brilliant and sharp, the kind of person everyone believed would rise fast. He worked in a fast-growing company surrounded by ambitious people, all competing for attention and power. At first, he played it smart, delivering results, staying disciplined, and building strong relationships. People trusted him, leaders noticed him, and everything seemed to be aligning in his favor. But then something small changed. He started cutting corners, not in big obvious ways, but in subtle ones. He would take a little more credit than he deserved, quietly shift blame when things went wrong, and make promises he couldn't always keep. Nothing dramatic, nothing scandalous, just small cracks forming beneath the surface. At first, nobody said anything. They still smiled at him, still worked with him, still invited him into rooms that mattered. But behind closed doors, the conversations began to change. People started questioning him quietly, wondering if he could really be trusted. Weeks turned into months, and slowly, without confrontation or warning, he stopped being included in important decisions. His promotion stalled, opportunities passed him by, and the momentum he once had began to fade. One day, it hit him. He hadn't been fired, he hadn't failed, but he had been quietly erased. There's a powerful idea from Robert Greene's book, The 48 Laws of Power, that explains exactly what happened here. Guard your reputation with your life, because reputation is a form of power that speaks before you do. It defends you when you're not in the room, and once it's damaged, it's almost impossible to fully repair. Here's the truth most people underestimate. People don't judge you based on facts. They judge you based on perception, and perception spreads faster than truth ever will. You might think as long as you know who you are, it doesn't matter what others think, but that belief can quietly cost you everything. Your reputation becomes the filter through which people interpret your actions, and once that filter turns negative, even your best efforts start to look suspicious. This is why two people can do the exact same thing and be judged completely differently. One is seen as confident, the other as arrogant. One is seen as strategic, the other as manipulative. The difference isn't the action, it's the reputation behind it. Most people fail to protect their reputation because they focus only on what they do and ignore how it looks. They believe results alone will speak for them. They assume consistency isn't necessary, and they underestimate how much small actions matter. But reputation isn't built in big moments, it's built in patterns. Tiny signals repeated over time until they form a story about you, a story people begin to believe and eventually refuse to question. In your work or business, this means being extremely intentional. Deliver what you promise every single time, because the moment you become unpredictable, people stop trusting you, and once trust disappears, so does influence. Be careful with credit. Give more than you take, because people remember generosity far longer than they remember achievement. And never allow yourself to be associated with unreliability, because that label spreads fast and sticks permanently. In relationships, reputation works more quietly, but just as powerfully. If you're known as someone who talks behind people's backs, even once, people will start guarding themselves around you. If you're known as someone who disappears when things get difficult, people will stop depending on you. But if you're known as someone who is consistent, loyal, and trustworthy, you become rare. And rare people are valued, protected, and remembered. On a personal level, your reputation shapes how the world treats you, but more importantly, how you see yourself. When you consistently act with discipline and integrity, you build a reputation not just in other people's minds, but in your own. That becomes your identity, something stable, something powerful, something that no one can easily take from you. But there's a darker side to all of this. Because reputation is so powerful, it can also be manipulated. People can destroy others with rumors, build false images, and quietly influence how others see you without ever confronting you directly. Sometimes the most dangerous attacks don't come loudly. They come through whispers, a subtle comment, a planted doubt, a quiet suggestion that something feels off. And suddenly, your reputation begins to shift without you even understanding why. That's why guarding it is not passive, it's active. You have to be aware of how you're perceived, correct misunderstandings early, and distance yourself from toxic environments that can damage your image. Sometimes, you even have to defend your name before it's too late. Because once your reputation is damaged deeply enough, you don't just lose opportunities, you lose control over your own narrative. At the end of the day, you can rebuild skills, recover from failure, and learn from mistakes, but a destroyed reputation follows you quietly and relentlessly into every room you enter. So protect it with intention, with awareness, and with discipline. Because in a world where everyone is trying to be seen, your reputation decides how you're remembered. If you found this video valuable, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. And drop a comment below. What do you think about reputation? Is it everything or is it overrated? Let me know what topics you want to see next.